Here we go, folks. We're back for another edition of Cocktails and Conversation. We are deep, so deep into season 3, and this, I promise you, will be one of our best editions yet. Yes, this is Nick Luck coming to you not from Teddington, Southwest London, but from anonymous hotel room in Anonymousville. But the great thing about this show is you can be anywhere, broadcast from anywhere, and still have an equal amount of fun. I simply have a bottle of still mineral water. But happily, Brittany Earton is equipped with something much, much better than that in Southern California. And Mark Tuberty, with his brickwork backdrop in Brooklyn, he is revved up and raring to go for our Women's Summit special. Mwah! Love you both, and great to see you again.
What an intro.
How is Mark the only one
getting
drinking?
better and better. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Well, not shameless plug here, but Day Chaser is one of our sponsors. And on the last show, I mentioned that I wanted to try the spicy mango flavor. And I tried to load this video of my unboxing. It didn't work, but I'm going to do it next time. They sent me the most beautiful variety pack. And I got to tell you, this stuff is really, really good. So when I'm running around getting ready for the show, sometimes I don't have time. So this is the tequila soda lime. So good. So good. And I swear, I'm not just shamelessly plugging. It's delicious.
It was a shameless plug, but it's great. He actually
But it's delicious.
Enjoy it.
You know what? Brittany, he loved it so much, he bought the company. That's how much he loved it.
I don't have the means for that, let me tell you. But even Jasmine loves it as well because, yeah, just 100 calories, fresh juice. Yeah, no, but I'm still here mixing drinks. But yeah, I'm able to have a nice cocktail to enjoy simply because it's so easy to uncap it.
Brittany, it's 65 days. Dorian Dickinson. It's taken Dorian Dickinson to remind us it's 65 days till Breeders' Cup.
That's wild. I mean, that is insane. I mean, it'll be here and nowhere. You said that we were very deep into the season, and yes, we are. I think we're finally starting to see these divisions take shape. Obviously, a massive weekend on tap. We're going to really delve into it, but we have the TVG Pacific Classic featuring the most exciting horse in North America being Flightline, but we also have the Jockey Club Gold Cup from Saratoga, both winning your ends for the Breeders' Cup Classic. So I think it's going to be a really exciting weekend, especially in terms of the Classic division.
All right, on that point, on the Classic division, can I just pick your brains since we last did this show? Because since we last did this show, you and I have done a show together in Saratoga where Life is Good won. And we have witnessed Epicenter winning the Travers in spectacular fashion. What has left the deepest impression on you in this division so far?
Ooh, thus far, I was really taken by Epicenter. I think we were waiting for one of the 3-year-olds to kind of take a step forward because this is the point in time where they should be, and eventually taking on older horses. That's what we'll probably see next from Epicenter. And I think he firmly placed himself atop that division. But I also think that he placed himself, and if you look at the Classic rankings, the panel of industry members that vote on that feel the same way. They have him sitting in 3rd right now, right behind Flightline and Life is Good. So Epicenter, I would say, but I'm waiting for this weekend. I am waiting for Flightline to dazzle us.
All right, we're going to hear way more about Flightline during the course of this show because Stephanie Hronis is going to be one of our guests. But tell me this, when you submitted your last Classic rankings as one of those industry insiders, what were your 1, 2, 3?
It's exactly as it's listed right now in the Classic rankings. So 1 is Flightline, 2 is Life is Good, 3 is Epicenter, 4 Country Grammar, 5 Hot Rod Charlie. So I feel like I'm in line with what at least the majority of the industry members are seeing as well. What did you do?
Yeah, I obviously had Flightline at the top. You kind of have to at this stage. I pinged Epicenter over Life is Good for 2 reasons. One, just because I thought he was scintillating at the weekend, and he's one of those Asmussen horses. And our friend Travis Stone, the caller from Churchill Downs, I thought tweeted a fantastic tweet earlier in the week where he showed the way that Gunrunner was campaigned and the way that Epicenter's been campaigned in the same silks, and exhibited how you can run horses to a peak. You don't have to give them these monster layoffs. You can keep conditioning them and keep running them. And the public is so much more enthused by these horses that run a lot and keep getting better. Here's a horse who I think we know is going to get a 1.25 miles very well. And we know that he keeps progressing. What we don't know about Life is Good is A, whether he's getting any better, and B, whether he's really going to get a well-run mile and a quarter against these very good horses. So that's why I bumped him down to third and put Epicenter above him.
I think that's fair. Mark, what do you think?
I don't know. It's tough. Life is Good did such a fantastic performance at the Whitney, which both my parents actually were keening into that race, watching that right as it was happening. They had to tell me later on because I was at work to make sure I tuned in. But that was an incredible performance. But of course, it's undeniable what Epicenter is doing right now. So much of it is timing and this period of time that we have leading up to the Breeders' Cup. A lot can happen. So we just watch how it plays out. But a lot of exciting racing happening this weekend as well.
Yeah,
You got
I think I read Olympiad was running in the Jockey Club Gold Cup this weekend. Is that right?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
He has a chance to rebound. So yeah, it'll be incredibly exciting after this weekend because I think you'll really start to see, of course, because there are questions that Flightline has to answer, the distance being one of them, 2 turns being another. But it's just a really exciting time for the division. And as we are 65 days away, and that's not the only win in you're in this weekend, there are 5 win in you're in races across the nation. Ready.
Yes. Brittany, where are the win in you're in races taking place?
Del Mar, there's 3. You have, of course, the TVG Pacific Classic, win in you're in for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, the Green Flash Handicap. I believe that's a new one. That has to be a new addition. The Green Flash Handicap, which would be a win in you're in for the Turf Sprint, and the Del Mar Handicap, which is a win in you're in for the Longines Turf. And then Saratoga, they have the Flower Bowl, which is kind of how we tie in our women's summit discussion. The Flower Bowl is a win in you're in for the Filly and Mare Turf, and then the Jockey Club Gold Cup, a win in you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. And yes, getting confirmation that the Green Flash Handicap is a new addition. So I like that.
Now, what's been happening my side of the pond as regards the Breeders' Cup, I need to keep you updated on that. Most significant development. Yeah, well, Baid's not going to come to the Breeders' Cup. I know, but he's so good. Yeah, he is a phenomenal horse. And really, this weekend might start that debate. If Flightline does what we hope Flightline's going to do, it might start that debate going, who's the best horse in the world, Baid or Flightline? You know, one's a monster on the turf, one's a monster on the dirt. We'll see. But in terms of horses who are going to come to the Breeders' Cup, I think that there is a strong possibility that Mishrif might do what he didn't do last year, which is come and run in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
I thought he was retired. Why was there so much talk about that being his last race?
Because I think if he'd fluffed his lines, I think it would have been his last race. But he ran well enough that I think John Gosden wants to have another crack. I think he wants to come to the Breeders' Cup with a horse, and I think it'll either be the Turf or the Classic. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had a crack at the Classic.
Oh, that would be great. Like he's never
the
done
other
before.
Division that looks kind of interesting from a Breeders' Cup perspective is the Turf Sprint, where Golden Pal is losing a step or 2 by the looks of it, and it's looking open for a potential European challenge. A stable that I'm very close to because I've had an interest in horses there for years, John Quinn. He's got a mare called Fivefield Princess, has won 2 Group 1s in Europe this year, the Morris de Geest and the Nunthorpe, which was a win in you're in for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Proved she can go short to 5 furlongs, stretch out a 5.5 at Keeneland. She'll be nearly favourite if she runs there with another win under her belt. So she's another one that you'd be excited about coming to Keeneland.
Well, absolutely, because that's why we love the Breeders' Cup, because it's an international affair. I hope we get a real presence from the Japanese again. It would be incredible to get some Australians out there. I think it's not as likely considering what they have. Wait, by the way, are you making a Melbourne Cup Breeders' Cup double? Are you making that happen?
It's probably the daftest thing I've ever tried to do. But all the flights are booked. So at this stage, I don't want to. Do I want to bore anybody with my travel itinerary? But I'll just be quick. We get our deals. So I leave London 24th of October, fly to Doha, get on a Qatar Airways flight in Doha to go to Melbourne. Arrive in Melbourne Tuesday the 25th, night of, and then I have a speaking engagement on the Thursday, and then on the Friday night, and then I host a show on the Saturday, and then host the Melbourne Cup on the Tuesday, and then get on a plane on the Wednesday morning, and then land in LA before I've taken off because I crossed the date line, and then land in LA, make sure the plane lands on time, fly to Charlotte through Wednesday daytime, I think that's it. And then fly from Charlotte to Lexington, arrive Lexington about like 9 Wednesday evening. And then we'll do that betting the Breeders' Cup show on NBC Thursday. And then 2 days.
That's crazy.
Well, hang on a minute.
Crazy.
It hasn't been done yet. This could be completely nuts.
Yeah.
Boss said
what we're going to do is when I'm shaking the cocktail, we're just going to list all of the layovers that you have and different flights, because that sounds pretty epic there, Nick. That's crazy.
Yeah, I guess cocktails and conversation is going to have to be, Thursday. We're just going to have to figure it out.
Well, our
the
very
world traveler Nick Luck.
Our very understanding boss, Brittany, said to me, "You can do it. I trust you not to screw it up."
I think that's an appropriate statement.
So fingers crossed. Now, we are here today, not just to talk about the racing at the weekend and the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series, the Win and You're In Series. We are here today to talk about the first ever, the inaugural horse racing women's summit that's taking place pretty much in your backyard, Britt, at Santa Anita at the back end of September. So just give us a little bit of detail before we introduce a ridiculously stellar group of guests.
Ridiculous is about right. I think it's been something that has been spoken about in the industry for some time, but you get this collection of incredible women behind it who have actually turned it not just into an idea, but what I believe is going to be an incredibly successful event. So the inaugural Women's Summit, and it is we have multiple panels. I feel very blessed to be moderating the first panel. That does include Dora Delgado, who will be on the show with us in just a bit, talking about anything and everything within the industry, challenges maybe women face, the future, innovations, how the speakers got to where they are today. One of the featured speakers and title sponsors or co-sponsor with First Racing is FanDuel TV. The CEO of FanDuel, Amy Howe, will be a featured speaker. And so I think it's just going to be a wonderful opportunity for all of these women to come together who are so prominent in the industry to give us insight as to how they got there, challenges they faced, and what we can all take away from it. So it's not just a female event. Yes, it will be female speakers, but men can attend as well. womeninracingsummit.com for tickets. But I'm sure that the ladies that are joining us can give us a much better, more thorough explanation as how this idea came to not only fruition, but a really powerful event at the end of September.
Some of our guests today will be more relaxed than others for reasons that will become apparent very shortly. Brittany, who's joining us this evening?
Well, these ladies need absolutely no introduction, but as I mentioned, Breeders' Cup Executive VP and Chief Racing Officer Dora Delgado joining us, actress, philanthropist, racing enthusiast Bo Derek also joining us, and owner Stephanie Hronis, who is also one of the founding members of the Women's Summit and part owner of the incredibly talented Flightline, who runs this weekend. Ladies, first and foremost, I know you're all busy. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us and to speak about what I know is going to be a fabulous event.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
You want to go ahead, Nick?
Yeah, I was gonna kick off with Stephanie first of all, just because with the Women's Summit around the corner, Stephanie, and Flightline at the weekend. I dare say, are you holding up, or are your nerves completely shredded?
They're holding up, and it kind of fluctuates. It ebbs and flows a bit. Definitely yesterday, the post position draw, and glad that is taken care of. And it's a nice post for him. Green number 5 goes with the green silks. And so hopefully that's a good sign. So yeah, getting that taken care of, and just getting closer to Saturday. It kind of gets to the point where you're like, okay, let's do this. Like, he's so ready. John in the barn has him so ready. Like, can Saturday get here like in just a couple hours? It would be great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and a lot going on with the summit and planning. Busy times.
And has that helped, Stephanie? You calm the nerves, the planning of such a major event?
A little. Like today, there's a distraction that helps out. We have twice a week, we have a virtual meeting between the team. And so today was one of our days. So that helped. An hour into that kind of like chips away at the time some and is a good distraction and handling emails. So it is helpful and it's so exciting. It's something so just incredible that's happening and a great event coming up to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. I am curious as to know where the idea first came from, because you are a part of the planning committee, Stephanie, and we have, Bo and Dora both speaking during the panels. But when did the idea come up and say, this is actually, we need to make happen now?
Yeah, so it's pretty incredible that just a year ago is where kind of the seed was planted. Like you had mentioned earlier in the intro, the lead up about how there's been discussion in the industry, but it's like just getting it to be executed. But a year ago, we had a Thoroughbred Owners of California luncheon for women, just talking to different women at different times, wanting to engage more and have an opportunity to come to the track collectively and to network and to have an opportunity just to watch the races and try some betting together. And so we put together the luncheon and it was a huge success. And it was kind of a surprise, like how quickly it sold out, and we filled up our spaces in the director's room. And then also the discussions afterwards, like hearing from people that we want more. And so as a very small group of TOC Owner Relations Committee, we talked about it. It's like, what are we going to do with this? And Jody had been a part of this. And she's like, well, maybe in the springtime, Santa Anita will do it. And then from there, we dug in a little bit more and we decided to send out a survey to multiple industry partners outside of California and within California. And we got a huge response, this wave of interest that we were not anticipating, and realized, okay, we've outgrown ourselves before we've even started. The survey responses, and the interest, and then the anecdotal parts. It was really amazing to hear from people like, we need this so much. Like, I want to be on board, like include me in. Shona Rotundo. That's how she got connected. She called Jody right away and she's like, I am in, like, include me in on. And at that point we weren't sure, like, are we going to go outside of California? How are we going to do this? Is it going to stay TOC? And so it was really, I appreciate with the team that just the quick camaraderie that we built. And we're a team of 6, now 7. And we sat down, we brought in a facilitator mid-spring to sit down with us. And we wanted to really dig into making sure what our plan is, what our vision is. We didn't want to be a one-hit wonder. How can we ensure that we're building a good enough foundation where we can continue this and it doesn't go flat? And so we all agreed that we're going to take this, we're going to start off in California, but we want this to be multi-racing jurisdictions, multi-state. We really want to bridge the women in the industry, or those even outside of the industry, like you're seeing some of our panelists, or even from outside of the industry, that want to help us grow the sport more and bring women in or lift women up who are currently in. So yeah, we quickly outgrew ourselves. And for months, the team, I hope it switches. Let's see the others. This team of women. And we've got this intern who, it's like, you would never know that she's just starting her 3rd year at USC. Everybody is so committed and working so hard. And the fact of what they're all doing, plus our sponsors that have come on board, our phenomenal guest speakers, our moderators, it's really exciting.
Stephanie, I think in and of itself, the Women's Summit is such an amazing thing. And you spoke to this a little bit right now, but what are some of the long-reaching effects that you're hoping that can have year in and year out? And I know you're already speaking to the sense of building a community, but what are some of the other effects that you're hoping that'll have build some traction?
Well, what we would like to do is have pop-up events. So kind of like easier lifting kind of events where we can, just like we recently had our 2nd annual TOC luncheon, and we had right around 40 women there, and it was fantastic. And it was an easy lift. We want things that will be very easy, very doable to where we can gather at other tracks. We're hoping maybe something at Keeneland coming up, something at Gulfstream. So to have those pop-up events continue so we can carry on the momentum. And then lasting effects, definitely just opening up the dialogue more about, we have a lot of incredible women in the industry doing hard work and doing meaningful work and really doing a lot to help keep the industry thriving and moving forward. And I think it would be great to see them included in more discussions and recognized for those efforts. It's such, I mean, as we all know, we're here because we love horse racing. For however long we've been in it, it's such an incredible industry, sport, our athletes, all of it. But to recognize women that are engaged already, and then ones that do want to engage and grow, that this will help open up some doors for them and maybe get people thinking, because there has been, being a newer person to the industry and being a curious person by nature and an observer, I think that there's opportunity for us to be, because there's a lot of business as usual, but that has been changing in the last few years. That if we can start to shift that more, women who might be behind the scenes but doing the work, let's bring them to the forefront and recognize them. Or women who might be around the track, let's include them in, maybe get them behind or in front of the camera some. And even though it might not always be a comfortable thing, I think that there's a lot of really good opportunities. And then mentorships, that's something really big that we want to see come out of this, is the networking and people connecting. And that way they can have some relationships going on and continue to help each other grow and identify their goals and strategies to meet their goals.
Bo, you've been involved in horse racing for such a long time now. Do you see the racetrack as a different place now to how it was 10, 20, 30 years ago as regards the diversity of people you see at the track and people involved in the sport?
Yeah, I think the one thing that when I first got involved in racing, I was impressed with how many women were there. I've always been curious, how did you get there? How did Dora get to her place, and Stephanie in the industry, including an exercise writer? It was always very interesting, because I think when I first started having an interest in racing, I assumed it would be all men. So I think their stories are encouraging for anyone who's interested. And then I think that maybe at the last minute, the industry came on board and started making some serious safety and welfare reforms that don't hurt the sport, but I think it's encouraged a new fan base. I love seeing all the young people on the track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then that's what the future of the sport is. It's the youth, right? Both male and female. Dora, and for those that know Dora, can I cuss on this show? Can I call you a badass? Because that's what Dora anybody that knows her, works with her, would call her just that. So Dora, when you first heard of this idea of the Women's Summit, what did you make of it? What was your initial reaction?
I was all in 100%. I mean, we have tried from time to time to try to get organized into a more cohesive unity of women in this industry that want to bring additional people in and mentor young people. And you got to have a team of doers like Stephanie's put together, because you can have a lot of people talk about it and we can have a lot of great ideas. But if you don't have that team that's going to take it and push it over the finish line, you're just going to have good ideas. So kudos to Stephanie and everybody on the Women's Summit team. They've done a yeoman's work of getting this off the ground. The speaker lineup they have is just astounding. I can't wait to hear some of these people talk myself.
Dora, I want to wind back to when you joined Breeders' Cup, because you're the longest serving Breeders' Cup senior executive. You go back since right from the get-go, right?
Yeah, Mr. Gaines had the idea in 1982, and I started in 1983 with about 4 other people in the basement of the Blood Horse.
Wow.
As an administrative assistant, and I really do pride myself on the, climbing up the corporate ladder. I will say this, Breeders' Cup has been an incredible place to work. We have always been very woman heavy. We have our population of women in our company has always been pretty strong. Even today, we're about, over 60% of our staff are women. 50% of our top executives are women. So, there's always been super opportunities, and I always had really good presidents and CEOs in place that, it was just never a question. If you could do the job, you got the job. So it's been an incredible nurturing environment, and we've really tried to pay that forward and bring more people either into our company or into, like-minded businesses. And I mean, I think honestly, we're at the cusp of something really, huge going on right now, with more women in visible, as Stephanie said, visible places of power and leadership. You're holding an example up for young people to say, it's not an old white men, industry. There is inclusion and there is opportunities, but it's like you got Shannon Arvin at Keeneland, Jamie Eads just got control of the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission, Lisa Lazarus leading HISA, Dr. Benson leading safety at the Stronach properties. I mean, it's we're really seeing some major movement here at the top levels, and it's super exciting to see.
But I really want to know, Dora, in terms of driving an organization forward, coming up with new ideas, how important is it that there is diversity of thought and diversity of background within an environment like Breeders' Cup, for example, that seeks to be at the cutting edge of the sport?
It's incredibly important, I think, again, that the management teams that we've had in place have always been that, let's get everybody in a room and just toss stuff on the table and see what we come out with. So I think it's been really empowering in that sense, and no idea is not worth bringing to the group, which has been really, you just have freedom of thought. I always say, when we got started with Breeders' Cup, it hadn't been done before. So thinking outside the box was kind of just our MO, right? I mean, like one day of racing with $10 million, what are you talking about? So that freedom of, well, we don't have to do things exactly the same way really just has carried through. We'll be in our 40th year next year when we celebrate our 40th anniversary at Santa Anita. So this is kind of a great kickoff to that as well.
That just gave me chills. I'm biased, but Santa Anita is obviously home, and I think one of the most iconic places for the Breeders' Cup to be held. So I didn't realize the 40th anniversary. You talk about inclusion and the importance of that. And Bo, I wanted to get your take on this because it's obviously not just in the horse racing industry. The entertainment industry for a long time, especially back in the day, thought to be very male dominated. Still to this day, there's fighting for equal pay. What do you think is the biggest challenge in any industry with women kind of making that next step forward on an equal playing field in terms of men?
I think that when you, from my industry, from filmmaking, I think in most industries we had this big leap forward in women's rights and inclusion in the 80s. And then I think we just thought it was over and we didn't have to keep up on it. And so recently it really caught me by surprise that there were so many injustices. And I think by example, some players, actors, people in the industry, in the horse racing industry or any industry, I think they just have to stand up for themselves, demand equal pay, let the world know how unfair it is for women. And then, I don't know, there just always seems in any industry to be a big fight, and then there's a change and everyone gets on with it.
Well, I think these are, and Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, the types of conversations that are going to be had over the course of the few days with the panelists. How deep, how maybe uncomfortable types of conversations do you want people to have during these 2 days? And what types of topics do you think we will cover during those 2 days?
Yeah, well, we have our 3 different panels with topics, starting with panel 1, talking about basically women in leadership, how they got there, what challenges they overcame. Our second panel is it includes like micro shares, looking forward in the industry, the social media aspect, how to bring more people into the sport. And then our third panel is about the equine athlete and the welfare and their welfare, as well as the humans. We've got Bo is on that panel. Dora is on panel number 1 in the morning. Yeah, so we would like to take a deep dive. So we've got the broad overview of the topics, and we've got some points that we're asking to be hit based on the surveys, because we want to make sure it's a meaningful experience for our attendees. So, and we want them to know that we're listening. So, but other than that, we're looking forward to our magnificent moderators helping guide some really good dialogue. No pressure.
So,
you're the pros pro. We're so excited that you're doing
I'm
this.
just prepping right now.
Stephanie, I hear you've got Christina Black lined up, Michelle Yu, Gabby Godet. Anybody else? Is there anyone else on board?
Yeah, this is the thing too. That's amazing. And I saw Shona made a comment. With our speakers, our moderators, like, we're just so in awe. Everyone, it was an immediate yes. If their schedule was open, they were there and they said yes. Like Lisa Lazarus, unfortunately, she's traveling abroad for work, and so she couldn't be there, but she's like, I want to be there. So we're going to work on getting a video message from her. But as far as who's there, so yeah, we've got Michelle Yu, she's going to be our MC, and our moderators, Brittany, Anise from Amplify Racing, Kelly Hill, who is on our planning team. She's an owner, and she's also involved in commercial real estate. And then we have Christina doing handicapping on Friday morning. There's just so much going on, and all leading up to Fashionable Phillies Goes West, painting in the evening with wine, to just a fantastic.
Hang on,
okay, I'll reverse it. Yes, I know.
Painting with wine.
With wine.
Well, you're not painting with the wine.
Sip and paint. That's
yeah,
a common thing.
This is not wine, but yeah, it'll be with wine, a wine glass, and painting. But Santa Anita will.
So you had two different reactions. Nick he didn't totally understand what it was. Me, I'm really bummed that I'm not going to be there to be able to do the paint and
paint while partaking with wine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Presumably
that's a big thing here in New York. I don't know, but Jasmine loves doing that. It's awesome. So I think that it sounds like you have a good mix of social kind of interactions for people to kind of bond, and then also all the information that they're getting throughout the day with the panels. So it sounds absolutely incredible.
We've also built into the schedule, we intentionally left like about 30-minute breaks because we want to foster that opportunity. That's when people can get up and move around and take care of what they need to, get their drinks refreshed, and then also a really good opportunity to communicate and network with each other. So that was the intention behind that. So we hope there's some deep dives and some good discussions.
I have no doubt. I mean, just looking at the speaker list, I mean, Nick, our very own Lindsay Shanzer, is flying in, senior producer for NBC Sports, the first female to produce the Kentucky Derby. She's flying out for it. So, I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, I mean, you described Dora earlier as badass. I would venture to suggest that Lindsay Shanzer is well on her way to fitting that description as well. Bo, you're taking a significant role in this event. How do you hope to contribute? What do you want to get across to the delegates?
As I said to Stephanie, I'm happy to share whatever experience and opinion I have. I'm not a speech giver, so hopefully there will be some nice questions that I can try my best to answer. But for me, it's about the community of women in racing. I hope to meet a lot of women. I'm interested also in the aspect of the mentorship that's part of the program. I think that would be really important and rewarding, and I think there will come some good mentorships.
I think you hit on a point that's interesting. You said meeting the other women of the industry. I mean, Bo, Dora, you're both well established in many aspects of not just this industry, but others. Dora, how much are you looking forward to hearing from the other women that are on the panels?
So much. Stephanie, sent an email and said, what time are you going to show up? I'm like, at the minute it starts. I want to hear everybody. I want to hear everything anybody says. I want to mingle afterwards. I want to, this is such a great opportunity. I was really disappointed last year when I was named a game changer in sports, and they had a gathering in New York of women in sports that were also named game changers, and I was unable to go. It was a little close to the event, but I got sick beforehand. I didn't want anybody thinking I showed up with COVID, so I just I ended up having to cancel. But that missed opportunity to network and just enrich your own sense of, I belong here. I'm part of this, this group of like-minded people was a real, loss for me. So this opportunity to kind of get into a group of women that are all fostering, really great things in the industry, and be able to talk to people that want to be in the industry about those types of things is just going to be an incredible opportunity for me. I'm really looking forward to it.
You guys have put together something wonderful. You say it got a lot larger than us pretty immediately. I think that's a great thing. The amount of sponsors that you have, the speakers, it's fantastic. You mentioned that 30 minutes for refreshments. Well, Mark Tuberty, I feel like we could use a refreshment right now, and it's very apropos to our discussion, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we've had this amazing opportunity to, really highlight these amazing women in the world of horse racing. So I figured it would only be appropriate for us to shine a light on some of the most influential people in the world of cocktails, women in the world of cocktails. So now, around the turn of the 20th century, we tend to hear a lot of familiar names, a lot of men, and a lot of Harrys. We have Harry Johnson, who wrote the new and improved cocktail manual, Harry Craddock, who wrote the Savoy cocktail book, and Harry McElhone, who is credited with creating some of the most iconic cocktails of that era. But a name that you might not hear quite as much is that of Ada Coleman. Ada Coleman took the helm of the Savoy, the American bar at the Savoy Hotel, in 1903, and she held that position for 23 years. During that time, she was an absolute revelation, or a badass, I guess I can use that word as well. She had such a presence behind the bar. She served dignitaries, politicians, people in theater, and she came up with some fantastic classic cocktails as well. Most notably, the Hanky Panky, which is a pretty intense drink. It's a mixture of gin, sweet vermouth, and Fernet. So Ada Coleman, absolute revolutionary force in the world of bartending. Next up, we have Joy Perrine. Joy Perrine is actually an institution, or was an institution in Kentucky in the bar world. Her parents were actually rum runners. So long story surrounding that, but the net is that she found a love for rum early on in her career, and she realized that there were other flavors that complemented the sugarcane-based spirit, things like orange, chocolate, and spices. So when Joy moved to Kentucky in 1976, she realized that bourbon had a similar sort of ability to pair well with these flavors. Of course, we have notes of vanilla and caramel and sweetness. So she started mixing bourbon into cocktails with things like peaches and chocolate, cinnamon, which was kind of revolutionary at that time because most people were enjoying bourbon neat or on the rocks. So Joy was truly a trailblazer in the world of bartending. This was around the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And she was even an author too. She published the Kentucky Bourbon Cocktail Book. There are 2 editions of that, full of her own recipes and other recipes from mixologists around the country, but also Kentucky specifically.
I love that. Next this is a misconception that women don't like bourbon. Women love bourbon.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, someone that to me is kind of an icon in this industry. She was the ambassador for Dewar's and for the single malt scotches here in the New York City area. Her name is Holly, and she knew more and knows more about Scotch whiskey than anyone I've ever met. when she applied for her job at Bacardi, which is the company that owns Doors, they said, we're looking at this list of distilleries that you've said you've visited, and something's not right here because some of these distilleries don't offer tours. And Holly said, I know, I jumped over the fence. So she knows more about whiskey than anyone else I've ever met. One of so many fantastic resources and leaders in this bartending community, which is becoming more and more diverse every single year. So our third and final kind of highlighted icon in bartending is Audrey Saunders. So when we think about the birth of the craft cocktail revolution, which really started in the early 1990s, we always think about Dale DeGroff because he was working at the Rainbow Room at Rockefeller Center. And he's kind of the first person in modern times to say, I don't care if it takes longer or if it's a little bit more costly to use fresh ingredients because I know it's going to make a huge impact on the cocktail. So he kind of jump-started this fresh cocktail revolution. Well, Audrey was Dale's protege, and she quickly developed a fame and a legend in and of herself. She created and founded the Pegu Club here in New York City, which has since closed, sadly. But this was kind of one of the first real craft cocktail mixology bars in New York, and it became a model for all of these craft cocktail bars that would follow. So Audrey Saunders, absolute legend in the world of bartending. So these are just three women that had a huge impact on this industry of cocktails and mixology. I could go on for hours and hours, as I'm sure we could, speaking about all the fantastic women that have aided the horse racing industry. But I know we're thirsty, so I'm going to go. What's that, Brittany?
But we don't have hours, unfortunately.
We don't have hours. And Jasmine already told me that this is running long for a presentation. So I'll cut to the drinks soon. So very fast, there are two drinks that I think of that have been... She's off in the other room, so I don't think we're going to be able to get her out. Although this would be a perfect episode for Jasmine to make an appearance, but I don't think she's going to do it. There are a couple drinks in the world of bartending that actually have lady in the name. The first is the White Lady, which is kind of a gin-based sort of sidecar variation. And we also have the Pink Lady, which has grenadine and it airs on the sweet side. So I said neither of those are really what I want to do today. Instead, we're going to do the Purple Lady in honor of the Breeders' Cup and in honor of all the influential women in this industry and for the Women's Summit coming up. So I'm going to switch screens here, hopefully do our split screen. It doesn't want to do it today. All right, so we're going to have to figure out a different way of making this happen, but I'll show you the ingredients as we go. So the first thing that we're going to do is an ounce of fresh lemon juice. So again, talking about Dale DeGroff and this idea of using fresh ingredients in place of artificial ingredients. I always say on Cocktails in Conversation, it's so important to use fresh citrus especially. So we're going to start with 1 ounce of freshly squeezed lemon juice into our cocktail shaker. So 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice. And now the next ingredient seems complicated, but it's really not too hard to make yourself. It's going to be blueberry syrup. So anytime I make a fruit syrup, I always recommend, I'm going to try this one more time. No, it's still not working. I always recommend muddling the fresh fruit with sugar and a pinch of salt, and then adding a little bit of water to it, and then stirring that together over a low flame until the sugar dissolves. You don't really want to cook down the fruit because then you start getting that kind of pancakey syrup where all the fruit flavors have been muddled. So what we've done here is about 1.5 cups of blueberries, 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of water, and a little pinch of salt. We have this beautiful purple color here for our blueberry syrup.
That's going to make such a pretty drink.
Oh, it's going to be gorgeous. We're going to do 3/4 ounce. And the flavor on this, again, is bright, fresh blueberries. It's not that dull flavor that you'll find when you really cook down the fruit. Now we're going to add a little creme de mure. What's that?
Did you strain the blueberries?
I did, yes. So I do like to let the blueberry kind of pulp sit with the syrup for a while. It extracts more of those flavors. But after a couple hours, you can go ahead and strain that out. And then you have that really rich, velvety blueberry syrup. But this works with strawberries, raspberries, really any fruit that you can think of. So now we're going to add 1/2 ounce of creme de mure. So this is a blackberry liqueur. And anytime you see creme in the name of a liqueur, it does denote some real sweetness. So this is going to be rather sweet as well. We're going to add 1/2 ounce. But I think the combination of the blackberries and the blueberries is going to be really, really nice here. So 1/2 ounce going in. And of course, Tito's vodka is going to take this up to another level. We're going to add a full 2 ounces. So this is a nice, fruity, delicate drink, but it's also very, it's strong. It's strong as well. So it's definitely going to do the trick. 2 ounces of our vodka going in. And then after that, Nick's favorite ingredient, we're going to be adding an egg white. So the egg white is going to do 2 things. It is going to, did I just lose someone there? They're like, no, at this point. The egg white is going to do 2 things. It's going to emulsify the different ingredients, and it's also going to create that beautiful signature frothy foam on top, which looks so, so gorgeous. For those people that are vegan, if you don't want to use egg white, remember that you can use aquafaba. That is the water that's in a can of chickpeas. I know it sounds crazy, but if you strain that out, you can use that in place of egg whites, and that's going to give you that same sort of frothy foam. So the other thing is that when we use egg whites or aquafaba, what we want to do is we want to start with a dry shake, which means that we're shaking without ice. So that's going to really help that egg white to kind of emulsify before we start adding the ice to chill the cocktail. Only about 10 seconds here. You don't need too much.
We could be listing all of the speakers at the Women's Summit right now, Nick. 10 seconds isn't enough time, though.
No, maybe on the other shake. I'm going to add some ice now.
Oh, there you go.
It's already looking beautiful and purple here.
I have a shaker question.
Yeah.
Like, is there always a rhythm to that? Like, it looks like maraca, like it sounds like maraca, like it's this good rhythm. Like, is that an important part of the shake?
So I always shake to a rhythm. I think what's good about it is that if you have that internal rhythm that you shake to, you can kind of figure out how long you want to typically shake.
Okay.
But I have been in interesting situations at some bars that do like live music, because there'll be a small salsa band or jazz band playing, and then I'm shaking to another rhythm, and I always wonder if it's going to throw them off, but they're super professional, so they don't. But you're absolutely right.
I love the shake, and I'm not a big cocktail person, but it's great.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. I
so
do that kind of up and down, forward and back. So there is a rhythm there. But oh wow! So we've got a really nice frothy foam here. Wait till you see. I know it's going to be a little more challenging. So typically I have this split screen, so we can see this a lot more up close. But sometimes technology doesn't want to work in your favor. But this is a beautiful purple color. I'll hold it up in just a second. And a nice frothy foam coming out as well.
This has
So
to be the next Breeders' Cup signature drink.
Yeah,
You know
if
what?
it's purple.
Can't wait to see this.
Yep. And just like the garland, we are going to garnish this with an edible flower. Well, actually, maybe not edible, because Jasmine let me use an orchid. So.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh,
Well
that
done.
is really pretty.
Very pretty.
I
Honestly,
wish you could see more of the orchid,
That's
but
really nice.
That's beautiful.
Dora, what do you think? New Breeders' Cup.
I love it. That's gorgeous. I didn't have anything purple, so I brought the gold.
There you go.
that works. Oh, this is so good.
Mark,
So this is our purple lady.
We've been doing this this show for 3 seasons now,
Yeah.
and that of the probably 150 cocktails you've made on this show, that is by far the prettiest.
Isn't that
Yeah,
gorgeous?
agreed.
And this is the one day that I don't have the overhead camera. Maybe I can fix it in the next couple of minutes so I can show you. But that color, that's all coming from those blueberries. So fresh
So pretty.
blueberries,
Wow.
sugar, a little pinch of salt, some water. Again, don't let it cook down too much. That's when you get those muted flavors. Let it be fresh, bright, and vibrant. But this is absolutely delicious. So this is a keeper. And
I would love to try that.
yes.
I like
Can you pass one
Maybe
through the-
maybe next year at the Women's Summit. You never know. Maybe this could be an official cocktail, but it looks gorgeous. I'm going to see if I can tweak my machinery here so I can give you an up-close view.
Well,
But in the meantime,
Well, while Mark tweaks his machinery, Stephanie, perish the thought. I must. Fresh, bright, and vibrant are 3 adjectives you wouldn't mind being used to describe the inaugural Horse Racing Women's Summit, I dare say.
Perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fresh, bright, and vibrant. Yeah, I think those are great descriptors of it. Yeah. Yeah. Impactful. We'll add that in there.
That's a
Yeah.
signature word.
Yeah.
Something like this. Stephanie, tell our viewers if they would like to attend, how can they? Are ticket sales still available? And if not, there was one question, if it's going to be streamed or videotaped so people could watch after.
Oh, great question. Thank you. So regarding, I'll go to the last question first. Regarding the videoing part, it will not be live streamed because that's one of our agreements as a team, is to not take on more than we can. We want to make sure we're executing everything very succinctly and with high quality. So we are going to have, it's going to be recorded, and we're figuring out how we'll make that available, regarding if there would be a fee or not. We'll figure that part out, but it is going to all be recorded. And then for tickets, they can go to our website, womeninracingsummit.com. We've got tickets available still. We're getting a lot of movement in the last couple of weeks, and we look forward to employers sending their staff. That's a model that you see a lot in education, where I came from, and you see it in business and somewhat in the industry, but where employers invest in their staff. They do not have to take a day off of work. It's considered a work day because the workplace is going to benefit by them attending. And from our wonderful speakers that are going to be there and the mentoring. We also will be doing a press release soon about paying it forward. There's been a little bit of drops of information about that, but we'll have something on our website soon to where if someone would like to send a specific person to the summit, they can pay it forward to them. If they we do have a list started of individuals who would love to attend, but it might not be in their budget. So even if someone would like to help with one of their tickets, you don't have to know the person, just let us know and we will get them connected and help them get to the summit.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I mean, to think that this is the inaugural year when you already have so many phenomenal speakers, so many sponsors, so much positive. I correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the initial reaction to this has been incredibly positive. What is your reaction to how people have taken to it already in its first year?
Yeah, I am in on that. That's funny. That's a very intuitive question, Brittany, because before we came on, I was giving that exact question thought. And yeah, I am completely in awe. I think it's such an indicator, the response from all sectors, our sponsors, our guest speakers, being able to be here with Dora and Bo and each of you. Yeah, I'm really in awe. I think we've really tapped into this sleeping giant that wanted to get out there and be a part of this industry. So, yeah, I in awe. Just and so excited about this. I'm really looking forward to everything going on. Starting off with In-N-Out Burger and Cocktails on Wednesday evening and networking. I mean, what a kickoff and California welcome. But we need these cocktails there. This purple cocktail. This is the Purple Lady. It sounds delicious, looks delicious. Yeah, and then Thursday, we start early at 7:30 and with breakfast, and it'll be a jam-packed day.
Mm-hmm. I think you guys deserve a round of applause for everything already, and the summit hasn't even come, right, Nick?
Absolutely. I mean, starting any venture, any initiative like this from scratch is so difficult to get the buy-in from the entire industry, but it seems as though the entire industry is behind it. I was so pleased the other day, Stephanie, when we spoke about the Women's Summit, to hear that you'd been in touch with some of the women in the UK who'd started Women in Racing, which is, gathered traction steadily but very surely in the last 5 or 6 years, and hopefully there can be more sync between the two organizations as the years go by.
We would love that. Tallulah. The other day when we spoke, I was having a hard time remembering her name at the moment, but yeah, Tallulah spent time with Jody and I early on, and we're looking forward to a partnership. She was definitely inspirational. There's really good things happening there, very organized, and yeah, so they're definitely a model for us. And I really, again, I want to shout out to the team that's planning this. Their commitment and dedication and squeezing things in between the regular day jobs. It's just been phenomenal, and really grateful for the trust from them. And that's branched out to the trust from the industry that will put together a quality product.
Yeah. And Bo, it's not just about trying to make sure that at the higher levels of horse racing, that there is a good representation of women as there is men, but to make a racetrack seem a reasonable reflection of society as a whole, which often it doesn't. You walk into a racetrack and it's just a bunch of men, and to actually make a racetrack look like society looks has got to be a key challenge that the sport needs to undertake.
I think so. First, I do have to say thank you, Stephanie. I'm honored to be part of this effort, and I think the thing that ultimately the love of the animal, and I think that will continue.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the love of the animal, I mean, Dora, that's a prime aspect and core. I think it's a cornerstone of Breeders' Cup, is for the love of the animal and the health, the wellness of these incredible equine athletes. I'm so excited to not only be a part of it, moderating the first panel, which is Thriving Through Challenges, which Miss Dora will be on, also with Dr. Dion Benson, Ricky Tannenbaum. Really looking forward to that. The second panel, looking ahead, opportunities for the industry. That will be Jody, Shona Rotonda, Lindsay Shanzer, Lisa Kearney, who's a FanDuel TV and events host. And then that final panel, Industry Integrity, a Brighter Future, that Bo is a part of, with Shannon Kelly, Marie Moretti, and Jen Royce. I can't thank you ladies enough for joining us, for putting this together. I know that people are going, if they can't be there, they'll be happy to watch afterwards. You should charge for that. That's worthy of a fee.
It's going to be good stuff.
We probably will.
Well, we've kept you long enough. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us with the Purple Lady drink. Mark, that looked delicious. You need to make sure that we all get a taste of that eventually. And Stephanie, good luck with Flightline on Saturday.
Yes.
Thank you.
Collect your
Appreciate it.
Challenge.
Stephanie Hronis, Bo Derek, Dora Delgado, all a part of the Women's Summit coming up at the end of September. Woo! Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up our show with, I want to get your reaction, Nick, as a male, because I feel as a female in this industry that I have, gotten to where I am, not only because of the support of females, but of, the support of men that I work with. I think that's a pertinent thing to mention. It's not just the women, but I'm surrounded by some pretty incredible men that support me too.
Obviously, I'm not going to disagree with that, but yeah. No, I think it's, the horse racing has made a lot of progress in getting more really inspirational and talented women in senior roles, as Dora exemplifies, as Stephanie was saying, as Bo was pointing out, talking about Lisa Lazarus, Lindsay Shanzer, Shannon Arvin, and others. But the fact that we can name all those female executives, and we couldn't name every male executive because there's so many of them, tells you there's still quite a long way to go to achieve parity. But I think, as I said just now to Bo, I think you'd like to feel like a racetrack feels like other parts of society. And I'm not sure in any country really it does necessarily, apart from on days that are specially designated as family days or women's days. Every day has got to feel like it is somehow more reflective of what it feels like when you're walking down the street or in the supermarket or whatever. It's still 9 times out of 10 has quite a male feel to it. So if you want to increase the sports fan base, you don't want to start off by making 51% of the population feel like they're less at home than the other 49% of it.
I think that's what's so powerful about the Women's Summit too, is that it is building community, and it's allowing for networking, and it's allowing for people to get those creative ideas on how to become involved that much more and get those out in the open. And I think this is such a fantastic thing. And I think each year, especially with those pop-up events and as it grows, it'll build that bigger sense of community and just strengthen the presence, which I think is so important. Because of course the influence that we get from amazing women like we had on the show today just enriches the sport all around.
And also
diversity in all standpoints. That's the goal for horse racing. That is the goal for, and should be for every industry. And I think, as you said, you want it to be a reflection of what the world looks like, what society looks like, and how diverse it is, because that's what makes it beautiful, the diversity.
And from an employment perspective and from a kind of career progression perspective, you need people like Dora and executives of that equivalent standing to be saying, well, I'm doing this and I have been very successful at doing it in an environment that has welcomed me for a long time, because that whole, if you can't see it, you can't be it. Yes. Slogan is right. You need people who are tangible examples of what you aspire to.
One thing that kind of occurred to me.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, when we had Dora on the show the first time, she was talking about when the Breeders' Cup was still taking shape and how scary and exciting it was, and how in many ways they didn't know what the next steps were, but they knew they were onto something big. And I kind of felt the same sort of feeling when Stephanie was talking about this idea of this got almost bigger than we thought, faster than we thought it would. But I think that's what happens when you latch onto something very important. And I think that's a good sign that there are great things to come from this.
There are many people out there that are courageous enough to be the trailblazers, but that's not everyone. Sometimes you need to see that example to know that it's possible. And you're mentioning Dora is a prime example of that. I'm a massive tennis fan, so my thought keeps going right now to Serena Williams and the trailblazer that she has been in the sport of tennis. And it might be her last match today in just maybe an hour or so, or she might continue on. So there's a lot of talk about that and kind of how young girls saw her playing, especially African-American girls, and saying, I could do this. So they need the representation. It's wonderful to have the women that we had on the show amongst many others. I look forward to hearing what they all have to say and tackling those tough topics, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mark, we've got a pretty special representative on this show who keeps us under control every week.
Brittany. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both of you guys have taught me so much. I consider you both friends. It was so nice when I got that text after the Angostura Bitters talk the last time, and you got to meet up in person and show me the oversized label. But yes, to Nick's point, Brittany, you're absolutely right up there with all of the amazing women that we've had on today's show.
And
thank you.
Not why I said any of that.
I think so. That's what you're getting at, Nick. But it's true.
All females behind the scenes too. Just letting you know. Okay.
Fully,
what else do we have this week?
Mark and I are fully outnumbered on this show.
Yeah.
You are outnumbered. You are outnumbered. So the next show is going to be on September 7th, which is right before the Kentucky Downs show. Nick, are you going to Kentucky Downs?
I will be in Kentucky Downs. And,
okay, so you're in.
I think Wednesday the 7th, I'm still at home, and then I fly Thursday the 8th. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So that's for the win and you're in is the Kentucky Turf Cup and FanDuel Turf Sprint. Also, the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic Future Wager opens again on Friday. I have no idea what price Flightline is going to be, but let's just say it's probably a short one. But it's in conjunction with Keeneland and Breeders' Cup. They launched the first future wagering ever for the $6 million Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. This will be the second future wager available. So looking forward to that. You can, it closed, let me see, Flightline as your favorite, I believe, your heavy favorite at that. But Life is Good after the Whitney, I think he had to have dropped at least a few points. Minimum $2 bet. So that's coming up also on Friday. We have a lot of action, and we're 4 minutes over. How dare us?
All right, free $2 bet coming your way, Brittany, and you can't say Flightline. Who are you? If you had a free $2 bet, just to chuck one away at the Breeders' Cup Classic.
I would Friday at noon Eastern time when future wagering opens. If I can get at least 15-1 on Country Grammar, I would make the $2 win wager. I think that he loves the 1.25 mile distance. Why are you smiling at me like that? Is that what you were going to say?
I don't necessarily disagree. I just think it's going to spice the end of the season up if that happens. Do you think that he needs a scenario where they go flat out?
Yes, because he's a grinder, so he's going to need the pace to fall back to them. And I think it possibly could because of Life is Good and Flightline. Flightline doesn't need the lead, but he's probably the only horse that's quick enough to go with Life is Good. But it could very well set up for Epicenter. I think Epicenter might sit the perfect trip if, the Breeders' Cup Classic were tomorrow. But I don't think you're going to get a good price on Epicenter. That's why I say if it's a future wager and I can get 20-1 on Country Grammar, I would take 20-1.
And to what extent do you think, in your heart of hearts, all this is academic if Flightline turns up sound, fit, and with a good win under his belt on the day?
If he's as good as we all think he is and hope he is, everybody's running for second. And we might see brilliance on display once again. Remember when American Pharoah won the Breeders' Cup Classic by a mile? It wasn't the heftiest of classic fields, but I think we could see something like that if he is the horse we all hope he is.
Well, this is if what we're voting for every week on paper rocks up in some sort of form, this is going to be a much deeper race than the one that American Pharoah had to win, isn't it?
Much, yeah. I mean, we didn't get the Pharoah Beholder matchup. I think she came up with a temperature, so she couldn't race against him. The only horse to complete the, what did we call it? The Grand Slam? Was that made up?
Yeah.
He wasn't
well,
do it.
I read that somewhere.
you better be careful. There are people watching this show who may have had some heavy hand in that particular marketing tool.
Hey, I'm a baseball fan, so by all means, use Grand Slam. I don't know if we'll see it again, though.
Well, who knows? But it was nice while it happened.
True.
I think it's probably a good place to draw this jamboree to a close, and say goodnight to one and all, and remind you that we are back just a week from now ahead of our Kentucky Downs broadcast. What should I expect from Kentucky Downs, Britt?
It's in the middle of nowhere, but the racing is great and the people like to party and the track is incredibly unique. How's that?
All right.
That's a good teaser.
2 out of 3 ain't bad, as the great man once sang. Good night, Brittany Earton. Good night, Mark Tubridy. Good night to you. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back a week from now. Don't forget, the Horse Racing Women's Summit, the inaugural edition, takes place at Santa Anita Park the end of September. If you haven't signed up and you haven't signed up your employees, don't delay. Do it now. It's important for the sport and for all of us. Good night.
For the Hillendale Metropolitan Handicap. And they're off, and it was a slow start for Flightline. He is quickly moving up now on the inside of Speaker's Corner, and Flightline had a steady there. Flightline had a steady. Speaker's Corner has the lead. On the outside is Happy Saver. Now Flightline is coming on through, and Flightline is going up to challenge Speaker's Corner for the lead. But Speaker's Corner is in front here by a length. Flightline runs in second. Happy Saver is next in third. And at the back, Aloha West and Informative. The opening quarter mile in 22 and 3/5 seconds. Speaker's Corner leads here by a length and a quarter, with Flightline racing in second. And now it's 3 lengths back to Aloha West and Happy Saver. Long Shot Informative is at the back, and they're going around the far turn now. Speaker's Corner is the leader by 3/4 of a length. Flightline is now getting closer on the outside. The opening half went in 45 seconds, and now the matchup is joined here. It's Flightline on the outside, Speaker's Corner on the inside. It's West against East, and Flightline has taken over the lead from Speaker's Corner. Happy Saber runs in third, then Aloha West and Informative. 3/4 in 108 and 2, and Flightline has opened up a 4-length lead. Happy Saber moves up on the outside of Speaker's Corner, an eighth of a mile to the finish, and Flightline is the leader with Happy Saber in second. Flightline is in full flight. He had a slow start, but a terrific finish in the Grade 1 Met Mile. Flightline wins it